There's been a noticeable marketing blitz this last month or so in the lead up to the release of James Gunn's newest film, Superman, which is set to come out in a couple weeks. And while some of the things that have been released have been divisive amongst the fan base, where some people like the direction James Gunn's taking it, others not so much. One thing that we're starting to hear now, though, is the early reaction from people who saw a little bit more from this movie are actually positive towards it. Early Superman reactions are in, and they're overwhelmingly positive. This is coming from that Park Place. The first reaction to James Gunn's Superman are flying in, and to the surprise of many, including longtime skeptics of Warner Brothers and the DCU reboot, they're overwhelmingly positive. During a special promotional event in Brazil, attendees were treated to the first 30 minutes of Superman, the film formerly known as Superman Legacy. While an embargo was likely in place, that didn't stop several influencers, press members, and fans from sharing their early impressions online. And according to them, James Gunn may have pulled off the impossible. Now, let me just caveat this too, because it's not like these are full reviews or anything like that. This is people just getting a early preview of it. And when I say preview, I just mean like, yeah, the first 30 minutes. So they're not watching the whole movie. It's possible many movies have done this where they start off strong and then they just kind of fumble it in the latter half of the movie, or they don't stick the landing of the ending. It's like that happens, but people who are seeing the first 30 minutes of it so far are saying that they like the direction that James Gunn's taking this. They like the tone that he's establishing for this. So you could take with that what you will. One thing people might recall is Snow White. When that came out, even people who saw the whole movie were seemingly giving it glowing praise during their social media reactions to it. Then when you read the full reviews, it's like the social media reactions were basically just like the only good bits that they had to say about the movie. And then the overall review wasn't really good. And I think they were just given that early praise because that was just kind of, I want to say it wasn't necessarily a stipulation that they had to give it praise on social media. It was just kind of an understanding because a lot of people who were invited to these sort of things, especially media outlets, there's kind of an understanding like, okay, even if you don't like it, try to soften your blows, or at least soften the majority of them until the movie comes out. Then by that time you can say whatever you want about it. So maybe that's what's going on here, but it seems like a lot of these people aren't necessarily professionals because there still is a social media embargo for about another week or so. So it seems like these people aren't necessarily concerned about this. So I could almost take it as these are their genuine reactions. And also one thing to take into consideration when it came to Snow White is people don't necessarily trust these early reactions because of what we saw with that, where people were giving it praise and the movie came out and it was terrible. But you don't necessarily get that same animosity towards Superman, because one of the things about the Snow White trailers and any video that was released on that was heavily ratioed on their YouTube channel. Meanwhile, you can look at Superman and a lot of the ratios on this are actually pretty good. 124,000 likes to 4.4K dislikes on the latest trailer that came out a couple weeks ago. And even though there's a lot of negative reactions on social media for some of the clips that they've been putting out, it seems like the sentiment surrounding this movie so far has been overwhelmingly positive. Now, is that going to mean that the movie is going to be a huge hit? I wouldn't say so, because like I said at the start of the video, there is still reservations about this amongst the Superman fan base, or amongst people who were maybe not sure whether or not this movie will be good. And so far, the stuff that they've seen hasn't necessarily convinced them one way or the other. No way I saw the first 30 minutes of Superman after feeling so hopeless the entire day. Needless to say, it was damn beautiful. Time absolutely flew by. And Superman himself in the castle is right in front of me. This was a post shared over on X, including some pictures and video there. So I would take it this person was probably one of the people who got to go to this event. The enthusiastic sentiment was echoed across social media in a flurry of posts celebrating David Cornsweet's performance, Gunn's tone, which reportedly is a complete about face from the bleak, dreary tone of Zack Snyder. And I think we could have gotten that from the trailer alone, that this was going to be a tonal shift from what we saw with Zack Snyder's Superman. And visual spectacle of Superman flight. So here's another post. The first 30 minutes of Superman is so effing good. A fresh new perspective to take the character. David is so good switching from Clark to Superman, and the chemistry with Rachel. We've seen a lot, and yet we haven't seen a lot. So this person had praise about it. Another early viewer added, I got the chance to watch the first 30 minutes of Superman and it was amazing. Cornsweet, James Gunn has done it. Super stoked for this one. Critics and influencers in attendance particularly highlighted the new flight sequence as standout moments, with one comparing the experience to Top Gun Maverick in terms of kinetic energy and immersion. So it really does feel like the people who saw this enjoyed it. At least from what I've seen from the responses, it doesn't feel like some other things when we get those early reactions where everyone is basically just saying the exact same things, maybe just worded slightly differently, as if the studio just kind of being like, all right, here are your talking points. And going back to what I said previously, that's usually something that you see reserved for, like either like high level influencers, people with huge followings, or professional media outlets. That's when you get that sort of reaction to it. This one, a lot of these people don't really have any big followings or anything like that. So it really does seem like this is kind of it feels a bit more genuine to me, as opposed to that people just saying what they think they're supposed to be saying. And it just kind of comes back to, if they were professionals, then they wouldn't be giving their reactions right now, because the social media embargo is still about another week away. And slightly after that, that's when we're going to get the full review embargo lifted on this. Some professional critics have actually gotten a chance to see this movie so far, but can't actually say what they think about it until the embargo is lifted. And since they're lifting it a week before the movie, I want to say it's necessarily the best sign. I mean, obviously, if you lift the embargo like the day the movie is coming out, that's usually a pretty good indicator that the studio isn't confident in it. Maybe they're lifting the embargo a week in advance, because then there's nothing else like kind of like overshadowing it. It's going to build up that hype in the lead up to the release of it, because there is kind of a delicate balance. If you think the movie is going to be good, and I'm talking the studio thinks the movie's going to be good, they kind of have to figure like, okay, when do we want to lift to embargo? Because positive reviews are going to give hype to this movie. So when do we want to do that? And I think they're choosing to do that right before the movie comes out, in order to try to build up as much momentum as possible. So it does indicate that the studio may have a little faith in this movie, even if the sentiment surrounding this movie amongst the Superman fan base is kind of lukewarm. Because if you recall, I did a video on this about a week ago when this news came out, when we got some early projection revisions for the opening week domestic opening for Superman's box office, where they said it was $90 to $125 million. And previously it was reported that the opening weekend for the movie was $125 million to $145 million projected. So what this means is that the early projections were at one number, and then as time went on and as more people saw more information coming out about this movie, then the expectations started reducing, which means I think there's people out there who are interested in seeing this movie, but as they've been seeing more stuff coming out about it, they've been losing confidence in it, and they're less likely to see it. But if early word of mouth, when the movie actually comes out, not necessarily the reviews from professional critics, but when audience scores start coming out, and if it turns out the audience scores are positive, then I think some of these people who might have earlier been interested in going to see the movie, but then decided maybe I'll wait on this, I think they might come around into the fold. Now, whether or not that'll actually be enough for this movie to turn a profit remains to be seen, because I said when it was projected to be $125 to $145 million domestically during its opening weekend, that was a pretty solid start for a movie like this. But you have to keep in mind, with the budget reported to be over $350 million, close to $400 million, and then you factor in the marketing costs for this movie, and there is a pretty big marketing push for this movie. You're looking at a movie that needs to make globally probably $900 to $1 billion in order to just be profitable. And while $125 to $145 million domestically, probably equal amount internationally, is a pretty solid start for this, it's no guarantee, especially if word of mouth just isn't there. Now, if there is strong word of mouth to this movie, then I could actually see it having some legs at the box office and maybe pulling through. But if the word of mouth when the movie actually comes out and this enthusiasm just isn't there, where the only people who really enjoy the movie are basically the people who show up to watch it opening weekend, and that's about it, and everyone else is figuring like, I'll just wait a few months until it comes out on Max, because it might sound like it's good, but it's not necessarily so good that it's going to make me spend big money to go out and see it in theaters. But I guess if the only other competition you have in theaters is Jurassic World or Fantastic Four, people have to decide which one of these three are they going to go see, or maybe just some other option out there. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think that there's actually positive word of mouth about this movie, and you think it has the potential to do good at the box office? Or do you think it might actually be a decent movie, but still not necessarily be enough to actually make its money back? Or do you think it's just going to flop all around, not only with the audience reaction to it, or with the profitability as well? Let me know what you think. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.